And welcome back to the Zolteus Gaming Channel. I am your host, Zolteus. Back with another episode of Empire of Sin. Now, this isn't necessarily a patch, but apparently they're doing an update very, very soon, and it's called the Precinct update. Now, the reason I'm actually doing a review on this is because it's adding something that I felt that this game has needed for quite a while, and they're called precincts. So let's kind of get into this. So basically, it talks about painting the map in precincts. So as you can see here, now it's not necessarily just a neighborhood. There are precincts to the neighborhood. And in order to actually control an entire neighborhood, you have to take it precinct by precinct. So as you can see here, this map, they have divided it into sections. And each precinct has set boundaries, so they're going to stay the same every game. So it's not like you have to worry about whether or not the same borders for a neighborhood for the precincts are going to change. They are procedurally set, so it's not going to change every time you start a new game. However, what has changed is how they're run, how these precincts are controlled. So specifically, bosses that run them, precincts can be friendly, neutral, or hostile, just like if you're at war or not at war, or you have business arrangements with other bosses. You're free to move about the precincts, but if you like the look of one and you want it for yourself, you're going to have to declare war to take it over. And it's just another facet of diplomacy and give and take within the game. And I think that's awesome because it's just really easy to just say, all right, I'm just going to declare war on this guy right now because I want to take over their rackets. So I'm going to do that, one by one until I see their boss, place open up. Then I'm going to go take that and basically get all their things. Now, if you want to actually control rackets within areas and you want to control precincts, you actually have to declare war on the boss, take rackets, or just go straight for the owning depot, which is basically if you take over the depot, you take over not the neighborhood, but the precinct. And then once you do that, if you don't want war anymore, you take steps to have war go, finish up that particular portion of the war with a boss. And then if you don't want further problems with that boss, you have to take diplomatic action to kind of appease. So it adds another layer of depth to the game, and I think that is awesome. I've been saying that the neighborhoods are great, but the neighborhoods are so big, it can take you so long to take over a neighborhood. Adding the precinct layer to neighborhoods is going to make it much more strategic and add that, like I said, extra layer. So as I had mentioned before, what's a depot? It's the precinct control building. You own the depot, you own the precinct. Plain and simple. You can still attack rackets within the precinct, but it doesn't factor into whether or not you take over the precinct. Also, something to take into account, though, if you attack the depot, open rackets in that precinct, if they are controlled by the person who controls the depot, they'll send reinforcements to the depot. So it may be, worth some of the time to actually take over some of those rackets. So that's good. And I'm glad that they heard that feedback from those of us that have been doing the betas and, putting that out there. And they're just like, no, you're right. We need to do something about that. So this is going to be a patch in the future. And I think that's awesome. Another thing, supply lines. Beyond marking, territories, putting them in your colors, precincts actually serve a purpose, and that is to set up supply lines, which if you don't actually manage can have adverse effects that can have very, very negative connotations to how your supply is actually run between whether it's neighborhoods or precincts in this case. Join two or more precincts and you set up a supply line. This provides the rackets in your precincts with booze while ensuring money has a safe path to get back to you. No supply line between your precincts and your rackets are in trouble. and in Prohibition Chicago, that's not something you want to happen for too long. So now you have a safe house somewhere. If you don't control precincts that connect to your safe house, you're gonna have issues with your money and your supply being safe and actually getting back to you, in 100% quantities. So once again, that is an amazing thing to have on there, because now you have to really take into account the strategic aspect of actually attacking something or taking it over if it's not going to be directly connected to your supply chain, to your safe house. And I think that's awesome. As it says, right here, there we go. Supply lines must form an unbroken line of contact back to your safe house for them to work. So you'll have to think carefully about which precincts deserve your attention and which ones are worth starting wars over. And the other bosses are going to have to do the same. And I like that aspect, because it means that unless a boss wants to start like a foothold in a neighborhood, they're going to think twice about just randomly attacking any of your rackets if there's no strategic value to them. And I really hope that is added into the AI consideration now that, or not now that, but once precincts are actually, patched in. And that's going to make it a lot easier to form like defensive packs or any kind of relationship with a boss that isn't directly near you or in your neighborhood, because it's not going to be just willy-nilly, oh, okay, well, they're attacking someone that we like in some other neighborhood, so we're going to break our agreements with them, because enemy or friends in other neighborhoods aren't going to attack me in this neighborhood because there's no strategic value to doing so. And that just adds more depth to how the AI is going to treat other bosses, and how the progression of the game is actually going to be much more procedural. So I like that. Also, we're going to get a precinct screen with all the radical change. You're going to need to get acquainted with the new precinct layout. So we're going to get a UI for the precinct. Everything we're going to need to know is there. Additionally, there'll be improvement slots, virtual buildings that enhance certain aspects of the empire. So now we're not just talking about rackets. We're actually talking about virtual buildings that enhance portions of the empire. So just another layer. I like it. Also, police. So as it says in that first portion right here, right below it, you may be wondering how they're going to react to precincts. So there's going to be many factors. The more rackets there are in a precinct, the harder it will be for them to turn a blind eye. So the more rackets you own in a precinct, the more attention you're going to draw. Similarly, if there have been a lot of recent unexplained deaths in a precinct, the police simply cannot ignore it. So this is now going to add that, all right, so if you just willy-nilly kill a bunch of people all, in a short period of time, police are going to take notice, and they're actually going to start investigating. Another big factor is your relationship with the police. Unlike other factors, this affects all the precincts in your empire. So start making that money. Send those donations to the Chief Police Retirement Fund. Maybe they'll let you off with some of that activity. So big thing there. I like that, because the police, in my opinion, they kind of were around, and if they saw something happen, they would look into it. Occasionally, if you had high heat with some of your places, they would go raid, but there was no true rhyme or reason in the gameplays that I've played. So seeing this, the addition of the precinct is going to overall affect the AI for the police, and I think it's going to make it much more realistic and much more challenging, and I'm all for challenging. All right, so the last thing here, they've begun preparations on introducing modding to Empire Sin. So I don't know about you guys. If you've watched any of my videos, you probably know this. I appreciate modding. Now, I appreciate the core game. I like the core games of all the games that I have played that I have put mods on. But mods really can make the game more challenging. They can make the game more fun for those of us who like to play for fun. We don't, want the ultra challenge, easy, normal, hard, insane, impossible, Iron Man, all that kind of thing. Mods add those little things to it, and this is going to be great. I am very glad that they are at that moment where they're going to start introducing modding. It's early days, but starting from the Precinct update, whenever that will be, which is supposed to be in the near future, they'll be gradually rolling out mod support, and that's going to be awesome. You'll be able to, and it'll be through Steam Workshop, so you don't have to worry about a mod interface, UI, or anything like that. I used to get a lot of mods from Nexus mods, and I still do for some of my games, but a lot of games that are released through Steam are starting to utilize that workshop more. RimWorld is a big one that uses a lot of mods. So I think this is all going to be a great addition when this update gets rolled out. It's going to be a great addition. I'm looking forward to replaying a lot of different bosses with the Precinct update. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome, guys and gals. I'm really looking forward to this update. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that this is going to be a good idea? Have I hyped it up too much? Are you like, it's already good the way it is, or this isn't going to change it much? Let me know. I am very curious to see what you guys think. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like and subscribe for more content. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.